And welcome back here at the Port Royal Golf Course, day one of the Bermuda Golf Championship, Butterfield Bermuda Golf Championship, excuse me. I'm Ian Rollins, along with Tracy Burgess, the Executive Director here of KBB. Tracy, last time we spoke, it was around Eastern Counties, and prior to that was Cup Match. KBB is definitely spreading the word and getting involved in events of this magnitude. What role is KBB playing this year with the Butterfield Bermuda Championship?
Yep. Good afternoon, Ian. Good afternoon, Bermuda. Our participation in the Butterfield Bermuda Championship this year, it's our second year partnering with the tournament and being supported by Aspen Bermuda and working with Recycle Bermuda on the sustainability goals for the tournament. So overall, we're aiming to reduce the environmental impact, minimize the amount of waste that the tournament is generating, and promote recycling and just raise overall awareness for individual responsibility when it comes to waste management habits.
You're definitely getting your message out on these type of events in Bermuda because this is our biggest sporting events. So how have things been overall for KBB this year with the events, and then we come back with the Port Royal?
Yeah, it's been pretty phenomenal. With our increasing involvement with large events and partnering with the Green Events Waste Management Plans, we've definitely seen an increase in the data that KBB has been able to collect on the total weights of trash and recyclables. And we're tracking and monitoring what's coming out of these events. Cup Match, you mentioned, for example, we collected about 15,000 pounds of waste, and about 1,600 pounds was recyclables, and then the rest was trash. But, for the first time, giving a, designated concerted effort to promote recycling at such a large event like Cup Match, it was really successful.
Now, this being day one, I know in the early emphasis of this event, you got 4 days to cover. What was it like last year at the final day, and you looked at the numbers? What was it like last year? So
we didn't have data totals at the end of day 4 or day 5 last year. Those data totals usually come in a little bit later. Sorry.
That's all right.
But definitely, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of enthusiasm. And last year was our first year working with the Butterfield Bermuda Championship on their sustainability goals and their Green Events Waste Management Plan. So there were a lot of lessons learned. There were a lot of things that went well and a lot of things that we tweaked to do differently this year. The tournament organizers are definitely focused on, continuing to pull back from the amount of single-use plastics that are used throughout the tournament and to switch to more reusable products and or recyclable materials.
So the plan for this year, so you said it's been tweaked a bit. What more of a tweak you made this year compared to last year from the first experience itself?
Yep, so we're working more closely with the tournament organizers to then get messaging and, suggestions onto the hospitality suites, to the corporate partners, people that are hosting kind of their own venues, kind of mini camps within the overall tournament, to, really encourage them to use recyclable materials and reusable cups and reusable food and beverage service items to pull back from single-use plastics. And, it's education. And for us, it's repetition and consistency with delivering KBB's message on our mission that's aimed to reduce waste, eliminate litter, and keep the island beautiful.
Speaking of KBB, what was it like 15 years ago to where you are now? Most of the pandemic was a challenge globally, so I'm sure things have moved forward now that we're in 2024. But overall, what's been the enthusiasm to get the message out now as opposed to what it was like 15 years ago?
So I wasn't directly involved 15 years ago, so it's a little hard for me to relate to that. But I do know that KBB is one of Bermuda's longest-serving environmental charities. We started back in the early 1960s, so we've been doing this for a long time. And, we like to stay engaged and connected with the community. And I think that we have really robust relationships across all of Bermuda and beyond. The pandemic was challenging. We did have to pivot and shift, as did every other nonprofit in Bermuda and businesses and organizations. But we made it through, and to our advantage, at the same time as the pandemic was kind of settling down and people were quasi-returning to normal activities, it was somewhat safe, or it was considered safe, to be doing outdoor activities. And so a lot of people wanted to do KBB cleanups because it was team building. It was a way to get their teams back together and kind of interact socially, but it was in an outdoor environment and you could safely social distance and all of that. So that's really kind of where our more recent engagement numbers started to kind of climb. And in conjunction with that, ESG, which is care for the environment and sustainability, social, and governance, has really been on the rise with the corporate sector and with a number of organizations, not only just in Bermuda, but globally. And so because of that, and KBB's mission being so closely connected to caring for the environment, ESG is a really good fit for who we are and what we do and our impact that we create. So it's awesome. It's exciting to be a part of KBB, and it's exciting to know that our reach is expanding and our impact is continuing to increase.
As executive director, what have you seen from day one when you've been in the office, been appointed to this position, challenging position, and that to where you are now?
I've seen a lot of teamwork. I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of personal and professional development, not only with our team, our core group of staff, but also with our amazing board. We have a phenomenal board. They're very engaged, and they all come with, certain skill sets and areas of expertise, and it all just works really well together. So that's, from the organizational perspective. We've done a lot of kind of building blocks to solidify our administrative foundation and, keep striving for best practice when it comes to governance and operations, and then engagement throughout the community. Our Adopt a Spot programs have increased. We've launched new programs. We've developed a formal education framework for all the schools, working with students from ages 4 and up. We have finalized the building of a community outreach framework as well. So we now have, solid guidance documents and guidance plans that are strategically aligned with KBB's mission and our focus to be able to achieve our goals and, our outcomes that we strive to meet every single year.
People must realize this is a volunteer, correct?
Well, not for me.
No, I mean, not talking about your position, but the others, your staff or your team that's helping you in this.
So I'm full-time, and then we have 2 part-time staff, one for office admin and the other is for education and community outreach. And then in addition to that, all other positions are completely volunteer. So our board is made of entirely volunteers. And then every year on an annual basis, we work with about 5,000 volunteers from throughout the community on cleanup activities and different projects and various initiatives.
This fall, as we're leading to Christmas, our winter season, a lot of people will be inside having house parties. What sort of advice would you give them on how to take care of that type of atmosphere going into the fall season?
Yeah, so it's really simple, and the thought process is not really any different from what we encourage people to consider every day. So you want to rethink your lifestyle choices and your personal habits. You want to refuse or say no to disposable single-use plastics. You want to reduce the amount of waste that you are personally generating. Little known fact that each resident in Bermuda on an annual basis generates about 800 pounds of trash. 800 pounds, not trash, sorry, waste. Okay. 800 pounds of waste. So that's trash and recyclables combined, but 800 pounds per person. That's a lot. It is. Right? Yeah. I can't even get my head around that. But so it's rethink, refuse, reduce, right? And then reuse as much of your existing product or as many reusable products as possible and as often as possible. And then recycle. So here in Bermuda, we recycle 10 aluminum and glass, goes into your household or your office recycling. And then there are other recyclable materials that we can collect at Tynes Bay for processing.
This being day one of the event, the Butterfield Bermuda Championship, we're in our early stages of day one. What have you recognized or seen thus far from your perspective of the KBB message getting out?
Yeah, so I was up here on Sunday, just kind of going through the waste management plan and, final review with the ecology team and the team that's on the ground handling all the waste bins and the recycling. There's definitely an increased number of bins around the property. So we've got over 116 trash and recycle bins all around the golf course. There's a lot of concentrated effort on raising awareness and education, specifically in the hospitality suites, because you tend to get a large number of people in, kind of a confined area. So there's signage that encourages people to separate their trash from recycling. And as I mentioned previously, we've been working closely with the tournament organizers to get the messaging passed on to the corporate and the hospitality tents and the food and beverage vendors on the importance of reducing the amount of waste. Let's try to pull away from single-use plastics and switch to reusable and recyclable materials. Yes.
The challenge would be for you over the next 2, 3, and 4 days. As you know, people come out on those days, this being day one, numbers are fair, but they pick up over that time. That means more work, more messaging being out over those 3 days.
Yes, which is why I'm doing 2 more interviews with you, Ian Rollins.
Fair enough.
Yep, and lots of, social media. We partner very closely with the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. We collaborate a lot on media and messaging and, just showing synergy between that partnership and all of our collaborative efforts. And I just want to say, that none of this would be possible without the partnership with Recycle Bermuda, which is a division of the Department of Waste Management with the Bermuda government. And super kudos and a major shout out to Aspen Bermuda. They are in their 2nd year of the sustainability partnership, and to be quite honest, Aspen and Recycle Bermuda are the ones who brought KBB into this quad partnership last year. So that's really where it started off. And then, sorry, I just want to go back to one more thing real quick because Tony's telling us wrap it up. But last year, so we did blue and black bags on the tee boxes for the players and the caddies, because it's only the players and the caddies that have access to those areas. Right. And funny enough, in other jurisdictions, they promote plastic recycling. And so what we found last year, lesson learned, most of what was going in the blue bags here in Bermuda behind the tee boxes was plastic bottles. It wasn't tin and aluminum and glass. It was because the concept, the messaging was not clear to the visitors, to the players and the caddies, that it was, we don't recycle plastic here in Bermuda.
Right.
So that was a lesson learned, right?
Fair enough.
And again, it focuses us back on the more we can reduce the amount of single-use plastics that we're bringing into these events, the better success we're going to have with the waste management plan.
Well, thank you very much. It's always enlightening to hear the information that you share from Bermuda, because KBB is a charity event that spreads the word, and we want to keep up and follow that. So, again, I thank you, and we will see you again on Saturday, correct?
Yes, 10:45 live on air with Ian Rollins.
And others as well. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, guys. Be blessed, Bermuda.